beneath an added pressure. "Sorry," said the man with the star, "but you'll have to come along and meet the judge." "He's interested in me?" asked Shafter, words tuneless now. "Oh, where you pitch your horse. There's a real plain sign that says no hitching." "Oh, my error. Or is it now?" The etched lines of weariness faded from his cheeks, and as he stood there turning the beer glass round and round, he seemed to be listening to the inner debate of his mind. After 26 years, he thought he knew most of the dodges of Cattleland. He thought he knew this dodge, too, but there was some sign of strain about the barkeep and a rigid quiet in that saloon that warned him not to be too sure. An impulse flipped over in his head. "All right, Mr. Marshal. If the town needs money, I'll contribute." He pushed the schooner aside, resolved on temperance for another hour, and walked from the saloon. The marshal swung abreast of him. When he passed his horse, Shafter saw Phelps standing by the rack in the posture of a guard, and for one instant his face appeared dimly, recognizably, through the obscurity. Shafter never paused, but a cool stream flowed along his nerves, and when he turned into Dry Gulch's jail office, he was more than half prepared. There were two men confronting him, but on one of these, a cripple, he bestowed only a single glance. The other dominated his attention at once. He never met Breen, yet there could be no mistake about the great-bodied individual who stood at the far corner of the office, one arm hooked over the corner of a gun rack, massive muscles in a kind of repose. Breen was enormous of wrist, shoulder, and neck. Ringlets of black hair lay sweat-plastered to his dark forehead. He was a scowling man, a man of pendulous lips. Breadcrumbs clung to his vest, and his free arm held a sandwich. Without preliminary notice, he broke into growling talk. "When a man reaches Dry Gulch, he comes to see me first, even before he gets a drink." "I don't get that," said Shafter. His eyes were weighing what he saw. Breen was a notorious figure. It was his boast no officer had ever taken a man from Dry Gulch and never would. Thus affording sanctuary for the sharps and the thieves and the killers, he ruled them. But he wore no hardware, and the club-like arms seemed too clumsy for a quick draw. Shafter speculated on the bulge beneath Breen's coat at the belt line. Revolver tucked inside the belt, no doubt. "You come off the desert in mighty dusty conditions," says Breen. "You're in a hurry." "Well, men on the slope come to see me first, even before they get a drink. And they don't tell no fancy tales about just being here for a sociable evening only. Slight error there. I'm running away from nothing." Breen brushed that impatiently aside. "When an outlaw comes here, he's got to work with me. I protect him and he pays for it. Young fella, you don't go ramming these hills unless you make your peace with me." "You're still wrong." Silence fell, morose and burdened. The marshal and the cripple were frozen to their places, a flare of deepening suspicion on their cheeks. Breen burst out with a torrential oath. "You lie! Look now, if you ain't on the slope, there's only one possible answer. You're toting a star and fool enough to think you want somebody in this town. For your own good, that hadn't better be the answer." "That ain't. I rode 40 miles for a drink. What the hell? If you don't want company here, why not put up a fence around this junk heap?" Two deep bloodhound wrinkles descended Breen's jowls. He nodded to the cripple, who said dryly, $10, mister, for hitching in the wrong place." Shafter reached slowly for his money, laid a creased bill on the table. "I'm willing to pay for my night's entertainment." And the cobalt of his eyes shifted to a powdery coloration as they fell on an open inner door and halted there. "I won't be intruding, Breen, when you got company." Breen pushed himself erect. "What company?" Shafter squared himself toward that inner door, infinitely more alert and reserved than he had been. A man appeared out of a dismal back room, cigarette drooping at a mouth corner. His hat was off, and pale yellow hair bushed up from a small skull. Even as he stood in his tracks, the rest of his body was in movement, restless, fiddling, exercised by an uncontrolled spirit. He had a woman's slenderness, a willowy and bending frame. A smile flashed across mobile, inexpressibly cynical features, but above that smile was a calculating, cat-like glance. "You could smell a man 10 miles off, Shafter," said he. Once.